Right, Peggy, let's talk about how you got into the UK from Australia
Yes.
without having to have a Britney Spears concert ticket.
Right, okay.
What was the first thing that made you realise that you wanted to leave Australia?
Well, the very first thing was my personal circumstances, but it wasn't until I heard Max Egan doing a podcast from Mexico, and he actually used the phrase, "You have to apply to leave Australia." And that sort of caught my ears, and I decided to look into it after talking to my friend in England, and I then started the process of applying to leave Australia unbritneyed. Right, because I refuse. I have never done any of that. I've never followed or complied with anything, and I'm still unbritneyed. But I managed to leave.
Right, so the first thing that you had to do was apply. To whom?
Right, I googled apply to leave Australia. I just googled it, and up came the government website where you would apply to leave Australia unbritneyed, which absolutely shocked me, because everyone in Australia is under the impression you can't leave Australia unless you are Britney Spears. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. And it was right at the top of the page online that there is a way to actually leave Australia unbritneyed. So I decided to follow the steps and the process and see what would happen, because I figured, well, if Max Egan can do it, I can do it. And we need to let everyone in Australia know that you can do it.
Right, so how many hoops did you have to jump through to do that?
I jumped through loads of hoops. The conditions, you had to go online to that site, press the right link to apply, and then you get a list of things you have to do. You have to supply them with ID, you had to supply them with a statutory declaration.
What's that?
Well, that's like from a JP, Justice of the Peace. Are required to get this permission to leave. And one of those conditions, there was a list, like I said, was if you had a job offer, you had someone that wants you to come to do a job, you had to have proof of that, you had to have a letter from the person that needed you to come, so you had to supply that. So you had to download all these documents, you had to download everything like that onto the website, and you had to, once you've got all the documents, there were about 10 documents you had to supply, and I got a reply from the first attempt, but I hadn't done all the documents required, so they immediately denied that. They just didn't get it, didn't get permission. So I redid it and made sure I had every single document that they required sent back to them, and within, I think it was 48 hours, I got an email back saying I was able to leave Australia.
Was there any condition about returning to Australia?
I believe, yes, there is a condition. What I got was a 3-month leave, basically. I had to be out of the country for a minimum of 3 months.
Why?
I believe it was because if you want to return to Australia after the 3 months, you wouldn't be able to do it unless you are speared, Britney Spears. So I believe that was the condition of returning to Australia.
So you got somebody in the UK to offer you a job and put it into writing.
Yes, yes.
And then once you had that paperwork all together,
Yes.
what was the next thing you had to do? Just go and buy the ticket?
Oh, no, one of the conditions was, of course, I had to have a negative test
Oh yeah.
within 72 hours of flying. Right. So I arranged that, to have that done at the airport on the way out. Of course, 72 hours. And they said online, they tell you, it takes 90 minutes to get that test result. That was a bit of a faffing around, because I actually had a domestic flight first, but I had to go to the international airport to get the test done. So then I waited for the result of that before I went back to the domestic airport to check in. I didn't want to check in until I got the negative result.
Right. So you flew from
Brisbane
to
Melbourne,
and then
from Melbourne to Abu Dhabi,
and then
from Abu Dhabi to England, to Heathrow.
right. And did you have any problems at all on the way?
I had a couple of problems. Now, one was I didn't have to wear a mask. That was really good. I didn't have to wear a mask because I have got an exemption. But when I showed the exemption, it was out of date. So that's really important. Even though you've got an exemption a year ago, it's useless. You have to have an up-to-date exemption. So I argued with them a little bit about that, but they accepted the fact that I still had problems, health problems, so I can't wear a mask. That was okay. That was in the airport. Not sure which one now. But the only other problem I had was leaving Abu Dhabi on the second leg, the last leg, and I got to the gate to get on board, and my, what did they call it?
Locator form, wasn't
That's
it?
right, passenger locator form. You must complete that properly, because I filled it in online and I printed it out, but it didn't have the QR code little square on the letter that I printed out on the form. They wouldn't accept that. It had to have, and then I was stressing out so much, but I was, luckily a chap at the airport took the phone off me, went through, looked it all up, he saw that I had permission to leave, so he fixed all that tech stuff up with, and I got through the gate and I boarded the plane. Then I had a bit of a breakdown. No.
So that guy was an employee of
the airport. Yes. He
Sounds
was
like
fantastic. He was so good. So look, I can't think of any other real issues, but I just want, the reason I'm doing this is to let everyone know. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what passport they've got. I had a British passport. I've got a British one, but an Australian can do it because Max did it. So it doesn't matter. If you want to leave Australia, there is a process. You can do it. I did it. I started the process in November after listening to Max, and I arrived in England January the 24th. Just gone. So,
and what about when you got to Heathrow? What happened there?
absolutely nothing. I was amazed. They didn't look at my passenger locator form. I scanned my passport in that new scanning thing that they now do. You just walk through. Scanned that. The gate opened. I walked through. Bosh. It was done. I was in England. I couldn't believe it. I'm walking through the airport thinking they're going to come and tap me on the shoulder, but they didn't, and it was amazing. So easy.
Nobody wanted to see evidence of a Britney Spears concert ticket.
Absolutely no evidence. They didn't talk to me.
So do you get the impression that this is all a kind of scam that's being given to the population of the world, that travel is restricted, but there are ways around it? Otherwise, the Australian government wouldn't have a special page on its website for the un-Britney Spears.
Exactly. Absolutely. I was shocked when I heard Max talk about it. I thought, hang on a minute, what? And yes, I was. It's a big scam. It's a big scam. The whole thing. Sorry, it's rubbish. Right.
So how long have you been here now then?
Well, from the 24th, about 2 weeks, 2.5.
Right, and what did you have to do about isolation? What was that about?
Right. Right, so on the second day of arrival, I had to have a negative test. Now, my friend in England acquired 2 tests for me before I arrived. She had them waiting for me when I arrived. So on the second day, I took the home kit test, which I had to put in an envelope after I'd done the test, and I had to send it to wherever it goes. I have got no clue. I haven't heard anything from that test. I don't know if I was negative or positive. I had another one on the 8th day, did the same procedure, sent it back, still haven't heard if I'm positive or negative.
But you're allowed to leave the house now, are you?
Absolutely. After the 10th day, I went shopping.
Yay.
So that I'm not going to sit home in prison just because. I don't understand it. It's a scam, isn't it? It's got to be. Now, and another reason I want to do this is because I just want to, because I've got a personal friend in Australia that would love to come and see their dying relative, and another one that wants to come and visit his son in London, but they are under the impression they can't travel because they haven't been Britney Spears.
And that's simply because that is the impression they're given by the television, I